Hello everybody. Today we're looking at another reaction video, and today we're looking at Dave Ramsey. What we're going to watch is about this guy who calls in and talks to him about $4.5 million debt. I'm excited to see what Dave has to say, and I really want to give my own opinion on it. Make sure you comment other videos you want to see me watch. Like and subscribe. All right, so here we go.
2 young kids, and my husband is a business owner. I've been living with my head in the sand for the last couple of years as he's managed the money, and I've just recently discovered how poorly he's been doing that. We are in a world of debt right now and trying to find a path out of it.
Okay. So what caused you to suddenly become aware?
Great point. This is a big issue with a lot of couples. Neither one of them are aware of what the other one is doing, especially financially. People get comfortable and they just let things be instead of inquiring, how are we able to afford this amazing life? How are we able to do these things? And then all of a sudden, you're caught right in the red. And now it's the problem's so big, it probably destroys marriages and everything else. So let's see what he says, because he just said it. What made you all of a sudden think about this?
He called me one day and said, I'm going to tell you before you get home to see the mail today, but we got a foreclosure notice on our house.
Oh my gosh.
Which was due to a second mortgage he took out on our house in order to purchase a warehouse for his business. I naively thought, okay, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to cash out one of my 401ks, pay that off, get the house out of foreclosure, and then we're going to move forward and do everything right from here on out. That was very naive. As I started to dig deeper, I realized the trouble that the business was in. He has a huge overhead and is not making enough to sustain that.
How old are you guys?
I'm 39. He's 42.
How long have you been married?
6 years.
When was the phone call on the foreclosure notice to you?
Well, on the house or on...
Now, when
on
did
the
he
house,
call you? What day? How long ago did he call you and say?
Oh, this was back in May.
May. Okay, so you've been gathering more information, and you all have been having more discussions for a couple of months now.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, what is he now saying?
He has a very motivated mindset, and he feels like he just needs to keep pushing forward with the business, and things are going to turn around any day, any week, and he's going to be able to fix all of this. Meanwhile, it feels as if things are not getting better. Things seem to be getting worse. Twice this month, he's not been able to make payroll for the employees. I've found out about some IRS debts, some property tax that's delinquent.
So why are you, once you discovered one thing, why do you not have a conversation when the two of you sit down and he tells you everything? Why are you having to continue to pull the thread on the sweater?
Great question.
Well, eventually he did. Once I found out about the IRS.
So we're
debt,
all on the same page today.
What's the total debt, Katie?
Including mortgages?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
About $4.5 million.
Okay. And how much is the mortgage on your home?
Our mortgage is, we owe $480 on the house, plus the second mortgage, which is $400, so about $880.
Okay. What's the house worth? What's the house worth?
Probably 1.1.
Okay. What's the mortgage on the warehouse? Is there one?
The mortgage on the yes, there is. The mortgage on the warehouse, we owe about 3.3 on it, and the monthly payment on that is about $26,000.
And what's it worth?
It's worth 4.1, 4.2.
Okay. Is it on the market for sale?
Yes, I sat down with our
Good. It's
broker.
on. Okay, so that's on the market. Is your home on the market for sale?
You know, the one thing that I am hearing on this particular numbers, and if you're paying attention, they owe $800,000 on the on the mortgage on the primary home, but the house is worth 1.1 million. So, and then he's collecting the data right now. He's also asking about the warehouse, and the warehouse seems to have equity in it, which is good. It's actually a positive thing, but let's see what else is really happening here.
No.
Okay. And so what other debt is there other than these two?
There's credit card debt, which totals about $120,000.
Mm-hmm.
There's a personal loan from my parents, which is $115,000.
Mm-hmm.
There is the property tax, which is about $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
There are our ridiculous cars, which are $140,000.
Mm-hmm. Are they on the market for sale?
No.
They need to be today.
Okay.
Okay.
That's right. Cars depreciate daily. So whatever they're worth now, whether they're paid for or not, they're just appreciating. And then she could end up even in bigger day just by having the cars. And that's something to really, really think about when you have a car.
Now, is he, the thing about business is this, okay? You do have to be an optimist to operate a business. And to operate a business in California, you have to be an unbelievable optimist.
That's a fact.
With the taxes and the regulations and the crap you all face, okay? It's unbelievable. So he has to be an optimist or he's dead in the water. So we have to have that category we can put him in. That's a good thing.
75% of consumers prefer to connect with their favorite brands through SMS. The Slick Text Inbox enables you and your team to collaborate on customer care and manage conversations.
But what you need to hear, and I don't know the answer to this, is you need to hear him articulate a detailed tactical strategy, a strategy overall, but the tactical implementation of what items are we doing to make this thing profitable? Because all you're describing to me are signs of death of the business. He has some reason, hopefully logically, that there's a reason for life in the business. I don't know what that is. I'm not hearing his part of that story. It is possible that he's got four things that if three of the four things levers flip, that he can turn the business around. Okay. But the poor management and continuing to go further into debt is a pattern of, I think I can out earn my stupidity. And that's what you need to see him stop doing because it's driving you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of you need to sit down and, it's okay for you to, quote, require of him for your peace of mind as his wife, that he show you what the clear path is and exactly what the steps are to get out. Not just, if I grit my teeth, it's going to get better. Because if I grit my teeth and keep doing the same thing, it ain't going to get better. It's going to keep doing the same thing.
Exactly. And the problem is he's already gotten used to getting in a debt. And he's seeing the short-term fixing, but not realizing that that short-term is not only very costly, but it could really put him out of business entirely and really mess up his complete financial future for many years to come.
Yeah, and I think a timeline's appropriate too, Katie, because you guys could sit here in this in this cycle forever and ever, and you need an end date, or I would.
Exactly.
I would be like, hey, I will give you X amount to figure this out, but at some point you got to just stop it and go get a job. Like, we have to clean this up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
So Henry Cloud says in his book Necessary Endings that you end something when you lose logical hope that it is going to get any better. Okay? So when do you close a business? You close a business when you have no reason logically to believe it's going to turn around. And you need to see something other than all the death signs. You feel like you're sitting beside the hospice patient hearing all the signs of death coming.
In a way, I would actually like to know what exactly the husband does. There are seasonal things that we're not really looking into. So hopefully we can hear that part of it so we can understand what does he do and what are those industries really doing to get a feeling of, is he really looking at this in a very logical way like he's talking about, or is he just fantasizing? So let's see what he says and what he asks. And
yet it's not a hospice patient, maybe it's just a patient that's got the flu. But that's how you're feeling because you don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on. Selling the warehouse is going to be a big lick. That's going to be really helpful. Getting rid of your cars is really helpful. Mm-hmm. And, we got to get back to scorched earth. We got to get this thing right-sized to where we can make payroll and we see a path, a light at the end of the tunnel that's not an oncoming train. the two of you need to find that together.
And if you don't see it, Katie, you speak up too, because so far the pattern's not been here. IRS stuff, I mean, like, it's not looking good.
No, he has poorly managed it, that's for sure. But if there is a clear path, but otherwise we need to talk about how we're going to sell everything off and shut it down. So you're right on track. And
sell everything and figure it out. And trying to get a job after you've been a business owner, it's tough. The freedom, the flexibility, the decisions, now you have to listen to someone else, follow a schedule. So there's a lot of things going on here that perhaps we're not really pointing out. But yes, it's a very difficult situation with that much debt. But selling everything, especially the cars, may not solve, but at least buffer some of the debt problem that they currently have. And adjust lifestyle. That is a very important thing. Hopefully he'll point that out.
And trust your gut. You've got good gut instincts on this. This is the Ramsey Show. Sometimes our segments aren't long enough to get into everything. Obviously, the lady with $4.5 million worth of debt, a husband, the business is failing. She didn't know anything about it because she was not involved until a few months ago, and now she's trying to find her way through that, and giving her a quick answer on that's very difficult. But there's some principles that Rachel gets to talk about, and I get to talk about a lot, that weave into a situation like that. By the way, the irony of that call is that's almost exactly where we were, only I wasn't 42, I was 28. I had $4 million worth of debt. Rachel was a brand new baby when we hit bottom, but it took 2.5 years of fighting for us to go all the way to the bottom, to bankruptcy. So by the time I filed bankruptcy was the year she was born. But Sharon was a full-time mom with Rachel's older sister and had absolutely zero knowledge of anything going on, not because I was deceiving her. I just didn't ask, nor did I tell. And neither did she ask. She just classic, whatever you want to do, honey, and just assumed I had a clue. I thought I had a clue, and I was wrecking a business. And so there's a couple of things that go with this, principles for you guys to use out there that'll keep you from finding yourself in a situation. They may be so far gone they don't make it out of that. They may be bankrupt. They may lose everything. We did.
Very interesting story about yourself, Dave. That was pretty cool.
Because we were so far in. So principle number one is, men in particular, but ladies too, when you are running a business, it does not give you relational or wisdom permission to keep that all the other side of some kind of wall. Now, you don't need to come home and whine every night to your spouse about everything being hard. Nobody wants to hear that. But your spouse needs to be involved in all major decisions that affect the household, and that includes the running of the business. Period. And here's why. Proverbs says, "Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, and he will have no lack of gain." And so while my sweet little wife is at home with a little baby, and she's a full-time mom with a home ec degree, she is academically not qualified to speak into the operation of my business. But the Bible says that if I listen to the wisdom of my virtuous wife, I will have no lack of gain. The way Sharon says it is, I may not understand, but I have common sense.
There you go. That's the whole bottom line, common sense. It's not so difficult to see if I owe a lot more than what I'm bringing in, or the equity in my assets. This, common sense. It's basic. You don't need to have a finance degree or any major degree to understand whether a business is making money or not.
And she throws that around like, and she does have common sense. She has wisdom. And so after I went broke and I learned that proverb, I no longer make major financial decisions, major decisions of any kind, without Sharon and I talking it through and being in agreement. Now, sometimes we argue about it. Sometimes she's wrong. Sometimes she's right, and I hear something I never heard before. And but I don't we don't go and buy a $2 million building and then tell her we did it. We can, but we don't. And so we don't, I don't book. We run our calendars. We run our budgets together. We know where everything that's going on in our time, everything that's going on in our money. And therefore
That's almost like a relationship advice. It makes sense. Not doing these things together could tend to separate people starts financially, and then it becomes a bigger problem. So I think what he says is pretty cool. That's pretty nice. Actually, a good relationship advice too.
Make better decisions, and the added benefit is that it absolutely solidifies your marriage against the storms that will come.
Yeah, and being able to, I think, go there with your spouse too is what we talk about so often, is having this knowledge and understanding of who they are. Because usually in those business conversations and or the money conversations, the person and their fears and their, anxiety around this subject over here, or the thoughts of this, or the excitement of that, like, you get to know your spouse in the middle of it too, right? I mean, like, there's all this added benefit to not only having somebody outside the picture looking in with a different perspective, which is so.
It makes them become a team rather than pulling on each other's, let me see if I can do this all on my own, the whole point of the relationship. So I think it's pretty cool what they're talking about and what they're saying, because it really makes a difference. Finances, I mean, isn't that one of the biggest reasons why people get away from each other, divorce, etc. Understanding each other, and like she says, being able to see and getting to know your spouse in that situation makes a big difference on how you're going to ride the financial world, which is difficult, especially when you have a business.
Wise and so healthy. But you're doing stuff as a team. And when you're married, that's where a rich marriage comes from, is that you're on the same team and you're talking about it. And you get to know your spouse in the middle of it even more, versus, again, feeling like, okay, this whole part of our life is over here and I'm not going to bring you in.
So if you're in the situation where that lady's husband is, you're the husband or the wife, and you're in that situation, you're running a business, as of today, it is now your job to unpack everything that's going on that is of note. Anything of size. We don't have to discuss where we buy copier paper, okay? But we are going to talk about the big things that are happening in the business. Here's what's going on. Here's how we're running the business. Here's the things. And we're not going to move the big pieces around the chessboard without talking about it further. If you are the person who is at home or is not in the business, so to speak,
it's asking, honey, how can we afford that $200,000 car? And how's that going? Do we have the money to cover this? Yes, it's great to have it. And how did we get this amazing traveling experience, so luxurious, without asking, how did we get there?
Big. It is your job as of today to know what the flip is going on in your own life. You are not a little child. You have to plug in. And if they don't want you to, that's a bad sign. If you're just too lazy to, you don't want to put forth the effort. Oh, he's handling it. I'll let him handle it. That's just laziness.
Exactly. Don't be lazy. It takes work, but that's just life, the way it is.
And you're going to make really stupid but decisions, and you're going to craft a life that you don't like at the end of the story if you don't plug in and make these calls together like two grown-up adults. We're not alike. We look at things differently. Absolutely. Most of the time, opposites attract. Larry Burkett used to say, if two people just alike get married, one of you is unnecessary. Of course, one of you is a spender. Of course, one of you is a saver. Of course, one of you is an abundance, and the other one's a scarcity. Of course. So what? What that means is you're getting good, rounded viewpoints on these major decisions. And you don't reach a point that, I borrowed on our home where our children sleep to buy a warehouse.
Can I say that feels deceitful? Like when you start to muddle the waters, which I know happens a lot in business, but you start to reach over to putting that in danger. That feels like it's. I don't know why it feels different if it's like, oh, I went and got a warehouse, but my own home, like my home, that feels so personal. I don't like it. That felt deceitful to me.
Well, it's not because the arrangement that
you
they
don't
were.
Think?
No, the arrangement.
I agree. You could use your home as leverage to get a line of credit to start, but you have got to understand and you have got to have some kind of plan and some kind of budget. And yes, of course, the spouse should be aware. After all, they probably also still live there. So I don't think that part is deceitful because it could be used as a major financial tool. It's gotten many people I know out of trouble just getting a HELOC or a second home, starting something, but the plan, the budgeting, and the control and good management has to stick around. It's part of the risk of having a business.
The arrangement they were operating on is she don't care. He can do whatever he wants. And so he did whatever he wants. And he had no thought that he was going to lose the home. He thinks it's just going to turn around and he's going to out earn his stupidity.
Make all this other money.
He didn't sit down and
it's really sad.
He didn't sit down and go. Now I will tell you this. Having adopted this, we don't do major things without Sharon. It means that I actually have to not only sell myself on the idea of going forward on something, I have to sell her on it. Mm-hmm. And it makes me critically think through the idea more thoroughly, knowing I've got to get agreement from someone else. I've got to be able to explain it in such a way that it makes sense and get agreement.
That's why we always talk about don't do your money alone. Even if you're single, have somebody, something that you are accountable to, right?
Yep.
A spouse, a friend. Again, if you're single, maybe it's a mentor, like whatever it is, whatever the situation is.
It's hilarious that inside of our own little brains, we can make the dumbest thing.
We're crazy.
We can make the dumbest thing sound smart inside our own little brains. But when you have to speak it and set it out on the table in front of someone that loves you and that cares.
Learn to set boundaries with yourself. Sometimes it's not that easy to talk to everybody about your finances and what you should or shouldn't do, or friends or whatever. But there's boundaries. Before you make a commitment to going out and getting a loan, set a max. And try not to go away from that max. Say, this is all I can do. Before you even go out and get the car, you go get the house, whatever it is that you're getting. You need to set up a max, set a boundary for you and stay committed to it.
About your future. As soon as you set it out on the table, sometimes before they say anything, you go, oh, that's dumb. And when that was in my head, it was really smart. But when I put it out there in the daylight, it looks really stupid. And it's almost like that time that you had this problem and you sat down with your friend, and by the time you explained your problem to your friend, you knew the answer. And all that is your brain had to process from simple digits floating around in your brain into verbalized. When you have to turn something into language, your brain is required to go through another higher function of critical thinking skills. So when you turn something from a thought into language and put it in front of someone else, it makes you process the thing you're talking about more thoroughly. That's why you already know the answer before your friend ever says anything. You go, oh, thanks for listening. I now know what to do. And they never said a word. They just look at you like a hoot owl, right? And the same thing's true here. You know, it's when you have to do this with your spouse, it opens up everything.
It's like right before this show, I was telling Dave about my new prepping conspiracy that I heard last night, and he looked at me like a hoot owl, and he just shook his head, and we just went to air. It's good to say it out loud sometimes. He's like, I don't know. I don't know about that conspiracy.
I guess there's one in every family.
So that was a very interesting call. I like the fact that he asked, the timing involved, and we were able to see how for all those years she was never involved in this in his finances, and now boom, it's really. Things are really hard, and now we have got to take a look at this. I hope that she really hears what he's saying and that they stick to that debt lowering, and hopefully they actually do well. It's having a business in, like you said, California's income tax in California and all the requirements over there, besides the federal income tax, it can be quite harsh on a business. And the fact that it even brought up the moment of relationships and how a life can be so affected by these financial decisions. This could be a marriage that could be having some serious issues, problems, because now the stress comes in. Basic survival is being taken away. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what other videos you'd like to see. See you next time.